I'm Gabe Abshire. This is Connecting the Journey. Well, hello and welcome to Connecting the Journey. My name is Gabe Abshire. I'm the CEO and founder of Utility Concierge, and I'm here with one of our newest sales managers, Jason. We're going to talk about kind of his career, his life, where he's been, where he's going, the things he learned along the way. Similar premise to the show is that, as hard-driven people and A-type personalities, we're always looking forward, and very seldom do we look back and really connect those dots, connecting the journey of the those life-changing moments that got us here. So we're going to get to know Jason, and really excited to have you here today, man.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
So let's start from the beginning, man. So I'll give you a little bit overview. You've been with the company
May of 2022.
May of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
You were our first outside manager hire. I think that's what's really, really critical. So happy to have you here, man. But let's where are you from? Where'd you grow up at?
So I grew up in upstate New York, about 4 hours north of the city.
Okay.
Thanks New York getting to the city, right? We were mountains, lakes. I was closer to Canada than I was to New York. So
Okay.
Born and raised there, and spent most of my life there until May of 2022. That's where I was.
Okay, so what was life growing up as a kid? So you're right. When I think New York, you think city.
Yeah.
And I went up there a couple of years ago and spent some time in Long Island. It's amazing. It's gorgeous.
Yep.
So more kind of rural country area.
Country area, mountains, lakes. Growing up, fishing outside. Goofing around as a kid. A lot of sports.
Okay.
Winter sports, of course.
What was your winter sport?
So we would play hockey, pond hockey.
Okay.
It's over, so you go out there and play some pond hockey. Somebody will fall through eventually, but you'll get them out.
Yeah.
We would always go outside and snowball fights and that type of stuff. And then basketball was big because obviously so cold up there, you got to kind of stay inside. So that was our winter sport. But football in the fall, basketball in the winter, baseball in the spring. We did that for my entire life, and that's how I grew up. Sports was the first and foremost thing I did.
Nice. to know busted teeth from hockey.
No, broken collarbones.
Okay.
Toes. Cracked the head open, cracked the chin. But that's it.
Yeah, just normal, typical. Boys being boys.
Yeah.
Nice. So high school, and then after high school, did you stay there around in college, or what did you do in college?
So I did junior college where I was locally because I didn't know what I wanted to do and didn't really want to take on that debt.
Yeah.
So I did junior college, got the associate's degree, transferred down to a college in Albany, New York, which is the capital. That's about 3 hours north of the city, about an hour south of where I was. Finished up there, and then didn't know where to go. I thought law school potentially. That was something that was big on my radar. But when I started looking at the load capacity that included, I didn't love it.
Yeah.
So because I didn't love it, that passion wasn't there. I couldn't pursue that.
What do you think you took to college from growing up in that kind of rural town? Like what lessons you learned? What do you think you took when you went off to college in Albany, which was probably a bigger city, big city compared to town. What town was it that you grew up in?
So I grew up in a town called South Glens Falls.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Biggest thing for me is my parents instilled at a young age, if you want it, you got to work for it. We didn't come from money. We always had food on the table, had a roof over our head. We had a loving home. But other than that, it was, you need it, you want it, you work for it. And no one's going to give it to you. And I'd use that in sports. I used that in college. Trust me, there's plenty of times I messed it up, but I always went back to that at my core. Like if I want that, I got to put that work in. There's nobody in this world's going to give that to.
So not entitled.
Not entitled.
Didn't grow up in an entitled household.
No. My mom still to this day would fly down here and smack me if she I would be entitled.
All right. So what'd you go to college for? Did you play sports in college?
I played baseball into college.
Okay.
For a couple of years. Tore my hamstring at the insertion point.
Oh.
Back then, PT wasn't a huge thing.
Yeah.
And so I kind of hung them up. Didn't think I was going to go pro. I was decent. I could hold my own, but at that point I kind of shifted into trying to figure out what was that next step like. And so college, I went for business economics, business management, did all that. It was kind of setting me up to go to that law school. That was kind of where we started. And then again, because my course shifted, I found myself with a decent degree, no direction on what that was going to take me into.
Yeah.
I could have been a teacher. I don't like kids that much, so I couldn't do it. And so at that point, I had a really kind of a crossroads of what my next chapter is going to be, and didn't know what that was until I had a buddy who was working in cell phone sales at the time. They needed some holiday help. I was a college kid looking for beer money.
Yeah.
Sure, why not? I was good at it. And so they offered me a spot right there, and that's where I started kind of my sales journey of getting to understand people, work with people, help them solve their problems, and at the end of the day, put money in my pocket to go.
And so so that's one of those things we're talking about. Like, people, skip past that, or they go, okay, well, even back that up and go like, how'd you meet that guy? Right? How were you friends with him? What did you do to impress him enough that, to put you up for the job? People just, that was a major turning point, right? Didn't know what you're going to do. Okay, screw it. I'll go sell cell phones. What company was it for?
Verizon.
Okay, so great training program.
Yep.
Right?
Sure. Top notch.
So how'd you meet the guy that introduced you?
So I met him through a buddy of mine in high school. One random day, was having a party, went over there, met this guy. Good chemistry. He's a buddy of mine. He's my best friend in the state.
There you go.
Best man at my wedding. I actually dated his sister for a while, years ago.
That's awkward.
Not my wife now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I met him, and he kind of saw things differently. He wanted to go right to work. College wasn't for him. Did it for a little bit. Wasn't his thing. And so that's where he ended up. And he was doing really well, and he liked it. And so he knew just my personality and kind of who I was. He also wanted to work with a buddy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I got that call. And again, he knew I was kind of in the between semesters. And so he was like, listen, they're paying pretty good money. You really don't got to do much. Just hang out, talk to people. I think you can be good at it. Sure.
Nice. So how long you Verizon, big company, lots of good training. How long did you do that?
I did that for almost 6 years.
Okay. So a good chunk of time.
Mm-hmm. Put a lot of work in there, had a lot of growth, made a lot of money for that age.
Yeah.
Fun. Don't have any of that money left. I definitely blew it on some dumb stuff, but, training was great. Really kind of elevated me to that next step in my career. And really biggest reason I left that job, it was retail hours. And for me, as I was getting older, I didn't like working till 10 o'clock every night.
Yeah.
Holidays and all that, it was tough. And I just wanted to try to get into a more work-life balance was what I was searching for. And that's what prompted me to go ahead and check something else out.
All right. So what was your biggest takeaway from there? So Verizon being there for 6 years, what was your biggest thing you learned? Or maybe let's go a different direction first. What was your biggest horror story from that? Working retail hours, selling cell phones, you got to have a funny story.
Yeah. So I'll never forget this guy. I came in, everybody, first and foremost in cell phone sales, everybody has a business, right? And so that number is so important to the business, which most of them are, some aren't. This guy had one of those. And so, when you take a number over, you can port it over from another carrier, no problem. Well, he had the account number was incorrect, which stalled the entire port. I lost all this money in business. And so what happened is, based on his error, that number actually ended up being terminated. Once it's gone, it's gone. And this guy wasn't very happy. So he actually came to the store and he asked me what time I got off work. And I told him, and he said, I'll see you in the parking lot. And I said, okay, sounds good. And he wasn't there when I went to my car, but I'll never forget him. And my boss was even, at that time, I was still the size I am now. And my boss then was about a 5-foot tall woman, sweet as pie. She's like, do you want me to walk to your car with you? I said, I don't think there's much you can do.
Not sure you're going to do anything. You can film it.
Yeah, you can film it. And I mean, in that industry, in that role, especially in Christmas time, right? Cell phones are such a big present. We've seen people throw stuff, smash their phones on the ground because they're angry. I mean, you name it, we've seen it. So in that role, it's you can make a movie.
Yeah, I'm sure. You see the people in their worst time when they don't have their addiction.
1,000%.
I was talking to a lady today, and this morning she had to switch her cell phone over, and she was just older lady too, sweet as can be, and she's like, I just didn't realize how addicted I was to my phone. I mean, my calendar, my schedule, GPS, everything. We started talking about what did we do before maps? Like, think about it, it's only like 15 years ago, right? What did you do before maps? Like, you had maps goes, but now you just get in the car and you punch a thing, and GPS has changed the world, opened up the world where you can just land anywhere in the world basically, and you have a map. And I think people, I don't think we take it for granted, but just to think, just like 15 years ago, that wasn't an option. You were maps going it, MapQuest, So you probably have some stories there, but you probably learn how to deal with people in all types of situations, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you understand after your first one that happens to you, and it's kind of like a whirlwind of emotions. You're angry, you're confused, you're upset with them, right? But when you really kind of take a step back and understand, get to the root of the problem.
Yeah.
People's emotions tend to spike when something's not right. And so get to the root of what the issue is. And if they think that you're listening and you're trying to help, that attitude will go away.
Yeah.
They think you're helping. If they're confronting you and you're confronting them, then that's not going to end anywhere positive.
Right.
I learned how to de-escalate very quickly. I learned how to get on the same page with somebody, empathize with them. Talk to me about what you're looking for. Let me help you find that solution. Not every solution's perfect, but a solution's better than no.
Better, yeah, get you closer to what you want. All right, so left Verizon, then what was your next stop?
Next stop there is I went to a publishing company, a small local paper up in my area, and for marketing and advertising, it was automotive advertising, and so it was something that was never done.
Yeah, different.
The idea. Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, which was what I was looking for. Money was pretty comparable, and so I did that for a couple of years, and had a lot of great relationships with car dealers, and those guys are tough. I thought that's enough. And in there, try to sell them something, right?
Sure.
That's a different ball game. And so,
did you pull them into the office and make sure you got their driver's license and did all kind of things before you could talk to them? Yeah. Dude, I know what car I want.
Yep.
I just want to go see it. That's it. I don't want to give you anything else. And it's Toyota's the great training for that. When you go to look at a Toyota dealership, you better be prepared
to spend your day there. Yeah,
exactly.
And I was interfering with that.
Sure.
Up in there, right? Yeah. And so I learned how to be pretty thick-skinned. And same thing with those guys. If once they trust you, they're your buddy for life.
Yeah, show them how you can grow the business and make more money. They're going to love, like, and trust you.
Exactly. So that's what I learned in that couple of years there. And from there went into telecom, back into telecom, but on the B2B side.
Okay.
So I got into custom fiber builds for businesses and certain servers and whatnot. Just kind of got bored in the advertising space at that point. It was also right before the big burst of social media, but social media was there. And it was really kind of an uncertain time for an agency to figure out what they're going to provide, how they're going to provide it. And so I said, let me try something different. And so the B2B world was kind of fun. And I got to meet a lot of pretty influential people in the area that I was in, and get to know them and work with them and provide solutions yet again. That was pretty exciting. That company, the culture wasn't the greatest.
Yeah.
So after a little while there, I just didn't love the way I felt being a part of it. And so I started looking elsewhere. Led me into actually a completely new industry, which was fuel sales, energy sales. And so I was commercial, like diesel fuel and fuel for construction sites and equipment and stuff like that.
Okay.
Again, didn't know much about it. I knew how to talk to people, and with the car dealers and contractors, they're one and the same. So it was really easy to get on board with them. I traveled around, got all of New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, and into a little bit of New Hampshire doing that. Got to see a lot of the Northeast, which was kind of, really made a lot of good partnerships there, and was able to just, again, develop my skills more on, I realized in that job, at that point, I had several industries I've kind of dabbled in. Everything I learned was transferable. The product didn't
built on each other
every single time. And when that clicked for me, I was like, there's nothing in this world I can't sell or help sell. As long as I know the process of what we're trying to accomplish, I got it.
Yeah.
It's a people business at the end of the day. It's all it ever will be. And so for me, that was a light bulb moment there. And I really liked that job. Had a lot of fun doing it. Left that because I had a conversation with my boss, and it was a great conversation. He was a great guy. But he pretty much told me that I was at the ceiling. Where I was going to be there. And I was at that point 28. And I just couldn't be that.
Didn't want to be that guy. You could see the writing on the wall.
Yeah. Ambition behind me. I appreciated that honest answer. But that led me to kind of look into what else is out there.
There's probably a 50-year-old guy in that same role, and you knew that was going to be you if you stuck around.
Correct.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah.
So that's kind of where that landed. Then from there, I went into another fuel company who had never had the position that I was doing currently, but they wanted it. So they were like, let's do this. Brought me in. Great. Kept asking for the resources I needed because I knew how to do that particular role. I wasn't getting met with a lot of that. And so after a couple months, they said, hey, we're good here. We don't need you anymore. And I kind of felt it was coming because every time I was asking for some resource, here's what we used to do. Here's what I know has worked.
They weren't giving it to you.
It wasn't given to me. I was like, I think there's a timeline here. But it caught me off guard because when I lost that job, it was about 3 weeks before I was getting married.
Oh, right. There's a big one.
There's a big one. That was a tough conversation. So my wife, super supportive, my best friend, my advocate, we handled it. But that drive home sucked to have to go do that, right? Deliver that.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I learned a lot about myself too. Again, nothing's handed to you.
Yeah.
What are you going to do now?
How'd that conversation go?
I was sitting at home. My wife was working at the time. She got home, and I was never home before her. I was home. So she walked in. Why are you home? And I just lost my job.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I filled her in on what I met. She's like, okay. what are we going to do? I said, I don't know, but we're going to figure it out.
Wow. So that's a tough conversation to have. How'd that go?
Yeah, it went tough. But we're a team. We understood that we'll figure it out. And so we got married. The joke to this day still is, you married some unemployed guy. Good luck to you. But, through that couple months of trials and tribulations, it wasn't easy. We never had our honeymoon. You had to use that money for the wedding that you got for the wedding to pay bills.
Yeah.
And so we'll live that honeymoon. We'll get there.
Yeah.
But we've been so busy. So then I stumbled upon the company that I was at previous to UC, First Media. Was looking for a place that had growth potential, that was going to be stable, and that was going to give me the ability to really kind of start dictating my income again. And got that job and get in the role very quickly. Within a couple short months, there was a manager spot that opened. This was a little bit of luck, because you need a little luck sometimes to be successful.
For sure.
And so with that opened, I went to the VP at that point, and I said, I don't know if this is too forward, but I want to be considered for this. And she said, okay. And so I had a couple of good conversations with herself and her boss, and they said, let's do it. And so that's where I started kind of getting into the inside sales management type of stuff. I've done other team management things, but this is really the first inside sales management position. And so I had a great team, worked like hell with them to just figure out where we're doing really good, figure out where our deficiencies were and how we can do better.
And what was that product?
Marketing and advertising.
Okay.
Actually, surprisingly.
All right. So
non-automotive.
Yeah.
So we were in recruitment advertising. There was some real estate stuff, and there was some automotive stuff on the back end that I helped in, what I could, but not too much really. More importantly, the recruitment advertising, brand marketing, that type of stuff. And I had a great mentor there. Still friends with her to this day, Erin Rosa. And she's an incredible human being. Helped me in that growth of strategic thinking and how to understand revenue streams and how to expand on those and not just get stuck in the day-to-day, because there's more to business than just that day. And so I did that for 5.5 years. 2021, my team won every award there was to win. They won a trip to the Dominican. I mean, they did it all. And at that point, everything was good. Then COVID hit, and marketing and advertising took a pretty big wallop. But we weathered it well. We came out of it. But during COVID, something really important happened to our family. New York was locked down, as we all wanted to do. They didn't do anything, couldn't go anywhere. And we were losing our minds.
How was that? Sorry, we down here we saw New York like New York City locked down. And going back to that conversation of the country and outside the city, how was it in the rural areas? Was it still pretty tough?
Definitely more lax than we saw in the city,
sure,
due to population. But yeah, I mean, everything for a couple of weeks was completely shut down.
Man.
You could get food from a restaurant, but it was a curbside pickup type of thing, and slowly started opening up a little bit, but very stringent on mask, of course, and all this other stuff, and limited distance. And so it,
you saw the writing on the wall. You saw how things were going to be there living in New York.
Didn't love it.
Yeah.
Didn't love it. And so we had to get out of town for a minute and do something. We have family down here at DFW. So my wife and I said, why don't we just go visit? Never been there before. Let's get out of town. So we came down here, and all intention was just to see our family. And we fell in love with the area. We loved the opportunity. We loved what was available. We loved the weather, of course. And we came down during that July of 21, where it was that really hot.
You loved that weather?
I did, actually. So the funny thing is, everybody down here says it's so humid. It's not for us in New York.
Oh, wow.
When you get in the 90s, like it's hotter. It's not as hot temperature-wise, but that humidity is far. It's like a Houston humidity. Like it suffocates you. And here I'm like, pretty good. It's dry heat as far as I'm concerned.
Wow.
Yeah. So I didn't mind it. And my wife is a sun worshiper. If it's hot, she needs it. And so we came down during that time, loved it. And so on the plane ride home, I said, I could see myself living here. My wife said, me too. So we came home. We talked to our daughter, who was in 6th grade at the time. We said, hey, what do you think about not being in New York? And she was like, love it.
Nice.
I said, okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So her birthday was in November. And so in November, we flew her down with us and said, let's check it out and see what she thinks about it. And she fell in love too. So at that point, it was November of 21. At that point, I said, okay, we got to make this happen. And so that's when we started formulating an idea and a plan. Holidays came and went. On New Year's Eve in 2021, I said to my wife, this is the year that we're going to get to Texas somehow. I didn't have a plan yet. And then January, I found UC and applied. Looking at the skill set, I do a lot of that already. Products don't matter, right? Sales is transferable. Yeah. I can do this. And I applied. Joshua Gonzalez reached out to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Had an awesome conversation with him. Connected me with Ryan, connected me with Kevin, flew me down, met everybody. And then I had the offer in my inbox. And now it was time to make a decision if I'm really going to do this or not. because I had to be behind a great company.
Sure.
And a great boss and a great job.
Yeah.
But to give my family what we wanted, it was a calculated risk that I had to take.
Change, man, something different. I mean, just like you probably saw that 50-year-old guy in that role, you could probably picture your family staying there forever, and maybe that's something you didn't like. You know, you had to make a change.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. We were at a little bit of a, you know, you're the first person we hired outside of the company to come in and be a sales manager, and so it was a little bit of a risk for us too. I mean, we knew we need to get some, you know, people that didn't come up in the country in the company and that just had outside experiences to come in, and really happy to have you here. It's been a fun journey so far.
Nice.
What did you like about UC? Like, I mean, it was a risk. It was you had a decision to make. I mean, what were the things that really, you know, how'd you sell your wife on the fact that, hey, we're going to work, you're going to DFW, we're going to work for this company that sets up home services and utilities?
Yeah. So I obviously kind of read a little bit about the company, read the reviews, you know, and everything sounded pretty good. First call with Josh, what I loved about that, he was very transparent. There's nothing he shied away from that I asked. And I asked him pretty point-blank questions. That might be the New Yorker in me, but we wanted to ask those questions, right? Met with Ryan, same thing. I just felt very, a lot of mutual respect and trust was being built automatically. But I'll be honest with you, until I came down, I wasn't totally sold. I really liked the idea, and I thought it was a really cool concept. I was on board with a lot of it. I came down and I met with Ryan, and I met Kevin, and then I went out to lunch with Myrick and Paul and Kaylee.
Yeah.
And we had a good lunch. And
Barbecue?
Yeah, we went to Heart 8.
That's a closer spot. That's a closer spot.
I had been there before the last time I was down here, so I was at least prepared. Otherwise, I probably would have signed the offer right there. And so in that conversation, I asked the sales managers at the time, which put them on the spot a little bit, but kind of really, they told me their history at UC. And I said, well, why are you still here? You're talented. You're doing a lot of stuff. You're making a lot of moves. You're young. Why are you still here? In front of Ryan. So I didn't love that, but, and they had great answers. And I just felt a really good, honest feedback from them. And so I met everybody. I got back to DFW airport. I was waiting for my flight, called my wife. I said, if I get this offer, we'll be here. She's like, okay. And she didn't care. She trusted that I was making enough of the calculated risk that I was never going to put our family in jeopardy to avoid it. And so offer came, we looked at it, we did it. And then in about 40 days, we accepted a new job, resigned from another job, sold a house, packed a house, moved, and we were down here in Texas.
Hey, that's a pretty quick turnaround.
It was, the fact that we did it is amazing. Could never do it again. If you asked me to, I'd say no. But in that moment, we just were so headstrong.
Timing was right.
Everything fell into place.
How'd your daughter take the move?
First couple, weeks were tough. She lost some of her friends, a little left behind. She talks about FaceTime and all that. And going into that middle school world, it's a big time for anybody. So it was a tough adjustment for her initially. But since she's been in school now and she's a big horse person, big equestrian, loves it. So we got her into that stuff as well. Down here, she's back into like tumbling. She used to do gymnastics a lot, so she's doing that and going for the cheer team this year.
Oh, nice! Oh, serious cheer team in Texas.
Yeah, she's seeing it. So she kind of started finding her lane, and because of that, she's really kind of developing into herself. And she's even got accepted to a biomedical academy for her freshman year of high school.
That's awesome.
Wants to go into that med field, and so she was able to get accepted in that. So she's living her best life down.
Yeah, I mean, opportunities she wouldn't have had in a small town. That's awesome, man. It takes a lot of courage to do that. I mean, a lot of I'm sure you had a lot of people on your side. I'm sure you had some people that weren't, and you got to listen to the ones that are going to bring positive energy to your life. And look what you did. You made a good move.
I had support all around. I mean, even my best buddy, Tom, the one that got me into cell phone sales. I still talk to him every day. Yeah, I miss him like crazy, but he's happy. He's coming out to visit. We're a phone call away or a FaceTime away. We're a plane ride away. And so we had a lot of support. We miss our people, but
it is interesting that you just with technology the way it is. I mean, you can FaceTime with somebody and you feel like you're there, right? You're never too far away from people. So what'd you notice, or you told me why you came to, once you got into the role, what were some things you noticed about the company that you liked, or maybe that not that you didn't like, or maybe that you didn't like, that were different?
Yeah. The first thing I noticed that I loved was every company talks about culture. It's a nice keyword, hot topic, right? Culture. But very few companies actually can live that culture. And so most companies think, well, we got a ping pong table. We got culture. we got free snacks, we got culture.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't do it. That's not culture. What I noticed is the first day I came in, every single person said hello. Every single person asked if they could help me. And anytime I went to somebody for an answer, they'd help me get it. And I knew at that point that was supportive. You don't get collaboration and support if the culture's not good.
Yeah.
And so immediately I felt like finally I found my lane. I'm good. And that was very quick for me. And I know one thing that was Ryan, he preached that a lot too, our culture. But again, we're in sales, you're trying to sell me, I get it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And so I've been in companies where culture is very toxic. And even in sales companies where if you're a top producer, I feel like the building got fired, they're going to justify that. Well, he makes a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. And I like down here is we live by that core value. We have to sign that at our offer sheet. Like you're going to abide by this. You're going to commit to this. And that was the biggest thing for me that I loved when I got here and started seeing it. And, everybody wants to always think that grass is greener. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I've made those decisions earlier in my life where I made that miscalculation and it hurt. But I learned as I got older, it's probably greener because there's fertilizer on it. Right. And so,
how's it look in the winter?
Yeah, how's it look in the winter, right? And so that's what I loved about UC, and it's been a really awesome experience. It's been almost 9 months now, and I've done a lot of cool stuff, and I've seen a lot of cool things. And now that's exciting. But the most exciting part is I don't know what I'm going to see in the next 12, 14, 24 months, right? But I'm excited to see what the hell there is.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of growth.
Yeah,
in the next 12, 14 months. I think we're in an interesting time, and you see with the market and everything, but we're investing in the company, we're investing in our people, we're investing in BD and marketing. And so when that market turns around, we're already in these companies' processes. It reminds me a little bit, not as drastic, but a little bit of when I started the company in 2009. That was right after 2008, right? And so the real estate companies it was tough, but they were willing to listen, right? And so, and then, we still have partners now that were some of our first partners, because once we get partners on board, they stay, And so I think we're in an interesting time. We're, like I said, investing in marketing, investing in BD. We're going to bring a lot of really great partners on during this, dip, whatever you want to call it, in certain times. But I think people they didn't move a lot last summer. They're going to have to move this summer. Rates will stabilize, and people just understand, look, you can't have an inexpensive house and a low rate. You got to pick one or the other. So I'm excited. Leads are back up from what they were in August, and so I'm excited about getting busy again. Mm-hmm. But what do you see? What do you see the biggest challenges for, like, you managing? You talk about culture, and I appreciate that. We don't have our core values on the wall. It's something you feel. That's what I tell people. Like, it's something you feel, right? But what do you? What's the biggest challenge of a new person coming in that maybe doesn't have the experience that you have? That hasn't been around a lot of cultures, different cultures in the workplace. What's their biggest challenge adjusting to not only the culture? I think that kind of takes care of them, but just the uniqueness of the role.
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest thing anybody coming into UC has to have is the ego's got to stop at the door. I don't care what experience you have or don't have. I don't care how good you think you are or aren't. You need to come in open-minded, ready to understand that no matter what you've done, this is different.
Wow.
And there's a lot of things that are transferable, but not everything is. And if you can check that ego, and I tell you, people when I interview them, if you can check the ego, if you can be coachable, if you're willing to be open-minded to something different, you're going to have a massive amount of success here.
Yeah.
But if you're going to hold on to something that you used to do, or a way that you used to do it, or you think you have a better way than our data over 13 years, you might have a struggle here.
Yeah.
So it's the coachability, it's the open-mindedness. And again, if you leave the ego at the door, it's going to line up a lot of our core values. So be accountable, own that stuff, provide that experience. And that would be my biggest tip for anybody coming to UC is just whatever you've done before is great. It got you here. But leave it at the door and just start that journey fresh.
Yeah, I think I think Utility Concierge is a unique spot. Culture-wise, it's a unique business. It's a unique service. And I think we try to find unique people. I mean, we're really picky about who we bring into the family. And I think, someone that has that hardcore sales mentality is going to have to, as we say, trust the process.
That's it.
So, well, thanks for spending some time with us today, man. It's been a pleasure having you with the company. It's been great welcoming you in from the outside. And since we've added a few more folks, but we're looking forward to a great year this year and continue to growing with you. And, making good on the promise that this move down to DFW is worthwhile.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Gabe.
All right. Appreciate you.